The biggest change that we've seen in crisis management over recent years is the rise of social media and the way that has changed the way that consumers talk to brands. They talk directly to brands now in a way that they've never ever done before. And that's really changed the relationship between brands and their consumers, and particularly in a crisis. It's pretty frightening for organisations to talk direct to their consumers. They're used to doing that through a conduit of the media. They're now having to talk direct, and that means that they really need to understand how their consumers behave in order to respond effectively in a crisis situation. So that starts by looking at how this relationship has changed in some detail. Some brands inspire real passion in people, the kind of brands that you might get tattooed on your arm, Nike, Apple, Harley Davidson, those kind of brands. But the flip side of that is that that passion can turn negative very, very quickly if a brand does something that the consumer really doesn't like and doesn't approve of. So we have what psychologist Jill Green calls a psychological contract with brands, which means that we expect a certain standard of behaviour for them, and that's nowhere more apparent than it is in a crisis situation. We have a sense of emotional ownership with brands, and if a brand breaks that psychological contract and behaves in a way that we don't approve of, then that can really trigger negative behaviour from us. It can very quickly turn positive thoughts into negative ones. So in a crisis situation, the brand really needs to behave in a way that we expect for them. They need to behave in a way that's ethical, they need to do the right thing. And very often we see organisations retreat behind this kind of corporate or legal sounding language that we don't really like and we don't really understand. And that means that sometimes we can have a very negative feeling towards those brands. People don't boycott a brand because they don't like its products. They boycott a brand because they don't like the way it behaves. So in a crisis, the brand has to behave in the right way or it will face a real backlash from consumers.